You're listening to Health Coach Conversations, a podcast where our conversations help health coaches all around the world to level up our businesses and to get more clients. Hello and welcome. I'm with Marnie Dachis Marmet. She's an author, My Song Unleashed, serial entrepreneur, podcaster, board-certified health coach, and the founder of Zenful Life Coaching, a practice dedicated to helping women and teens create a healthier and happier life. She supports clients in implementing personalized nutrition and wellness plans and makes gradual, sustainable lifestyle changes. Her areas of expertise include longevity, mind, body, spirit, holistic health, gut health, yoga, mindfulness, and meditation.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. What are the steps to cultivating a balanced life?
I would say that cultivating a balanced life is a long process, right? Like it's not something that you can just say, wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm ready to, I'm just going to change everything about my life. But so what I like to tell people to do to start with is goal setting, right? So start asking yourself some like really big questions about what kind of life do you want to lead, right? So digging deep and really identifying what matters most to you in different areas of your life. And that could be, your work, your relationships, your health, your personal growth, because really what we want to do is clarify your goals and your values. And once you have that kind of pinned down, you're going to use those to guide you in the decisions that you make and the actions that you take on a daily basis. So if you don't have a clear picture of what your balanced life looks like, it's going to be really hard to obtain that, right? Like, I think a lot of people are living on, the hamster wheel where they're just like getting up and they're going to work and they're coming home and they're dealing with their kids or whatever it is they're doing. And there's not a lot of intention behind it. And not to anyone's fault, but just because we live in a very fast-paced world. And so I think to really cultivate a life that you want to lead and a balanced life, you need to start with really identifying and picturing and writing down what that looks like to you. And that is going to be different for everyone, right? So what my balanced life look like and what your balanced life looks like, Cathy, is going to be very different. And I do like to do this process, like start this in January every year. And that's just like a starting point. You can do it at any point in the year, but it's a good time to start that. And I actually do this with my husband and my kids. They're like young adult kids now. And we sit down and we all kind of have these different buckets and we put our thoughts in the different buckets and we like to share them with each other. And I make a board that I have in my office where I can like see my vision every day. And I think that's really helpful. But once you kind of have that vision of what you want your life to look like, then I like to really break it down even further. So it's more broken down into longer term goals and then manageable steps. Because once you have those manageable steps, you can have an action plan and then you can figure out how to achieve them. And it's really important also, I think, to celebrate your progress along the way. This is not like a quick, easy thing to do. This is time consuming. And I think it's really important to take baby steps toward making the changes that you want to make. And if you need to adjust your goals, that's okay. And if you need to prioritize something at one point and then change that at another point, that's totally fine as well. Like this is all about you and what works for you and your life. So that's like the big picture, I would say. Once you have that, I do think it's really important as you're cultivating your balanced life to address your self-care. And what does that look like? Well, obviously, I'm not talking about like going to the nail salon and getting your nails done, but really taking care of your internal self and what kinds of things can you do in your life to make sure you're cared for? One thing that I have found has worked really well in my life and in a lot of my clients' life is learning how to say no to commitments that drain your energy or detract from the goals and priorities we just talked about a few minutes ago. So you now have this list of all these things that you want to do in different buckets of your life. So if you're being asked to do lots of things that don't lead you to those goals, then you need to learn how to say no. Unless it's something you really want to do. And then maybe you're, adding that into your balanced life or your goals or whatever. But it's really important to set boundaries to protect your time, your personal space, your relationships. Don't spend time with people that drain your energy, because that's just going to take away from a cup that you're trying to fill with good stuff. And I know this is really, really difficult to do, but I think it's something, I put this at the top of the list for one of the self-care things, because I think if a person can learn to say no to things that they don't want to do, and I recognize that sometimes we all have to do things we don't want to do, but if that's becoming a pattern where you're over and over again are doing things that don't align with the way you want to live your life, then we need to examine that and see what's going on and see what can be changed.
Yeah, I can see where if you don't make a plan, if you don't make those goals, you're just going to be going in circles. And where you got these values and your goals, if you don't go in the right direction all the time, if you're not constantly realigning what your action steps are, then you end up someplace where you never intended to be. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And just talking about self-care again, I would say, you also want to nurture your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. And we all know some of those basic things that we need to be doing, like getting enough sleep and eating nourishing foods and moving your body regularly. And one of the most important things, I think, is engaging in activities that bring you joy and engaging in activities that bring you calm and relaxation and time with loved ones, whether that's family or friends or whoever, pets. Like, that self-care piece is also really important. And we could talk about just those things on a whole episode, right? Like, there's so much involved in caring for ourselves. And then, another area that I see a lot of people struggling is balancing their personal life and their professional life. Oftentimes it is out of balance, and it's usually heavier on the professional life. People are burned out. They're overworked. The society we live in, at least in the United States, it's like a lot of people think it's a badge of honor if you're staying up till 3 a.m. and you're doing your work and I'm on a mission to change that. Like, we need balance in our lives. We need to, have fulfilling work, and for sure work, but also have time in our lives for leisure activities. And like I mentioned earlier, quality time with family and friends and doing what you love on a daily basis. And, just being surrounded by people that uplift you and that you can uplift. So working together to do those things.
You wrote a book.
I did. Yes.
Tell us about the book.
So here is what it is. It's called My Song Unleashed. And it's actually a memoir. And it's my personal journey of finding my voice. And, the book starts off when I'm a teenager and I feel very shut down by the people in my life. And it's about how I kind of grew up living a life that I thought was expected of me. And I think a lot of young women and women, I'm 51, in my age range, felt that way growing up. I went through school, I went to college, I got a corporate job out of college. I just kind of went through the motions. I got married, I had babies. Like, I I didn't really ever give a lot of thought to what do I want out of my life? What do I want to do? I just kind of went through what my mom did and what my grandmother did and what I thought I should do. And so the book is about my journey. There's, my dad went through drug and alcohol treatment. There's some death in the book. There's different struggles. And then it's just about how I kind of ended up on this health and wellness journey and have found myself at the end. And I'm still on the journey, right? Of every day is a journey. There's no destination here. I'm constantly learning and growing. But I do think I've heard from a lot of readers that they've really resonated with the themes in the book. And so I hope that it motivates and inspires other people to kind of go on their own journey and learn about themselves and grow.
Now, that's interesting. While you're talking about that, I'm thinking I probably did just the opposite. You did what was expected of you, and you went all the way through, until you got to a certain point, and then you reflected back. And I did about everything that I wasn't supposed to do.
Well, you were clearly tuned into yourself at a young age, and that's
I'll have to think spend a little time thinking about that, the difference. I'll read your book.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd love to hear, because I think what your path is more unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I haven't thought about it. I haven't compared the two before, but that's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's easier, though, if you do what you're supposed to do.
Well, I don't know.
But you miss out on things.
It's easier because I always felt like I wasn't living honestly. I felt inside like I had all of this stuff inside that was like exploding to come out. And I just was kind of pushing it aside. And, then it manifests in unhappiness and all these different things. So I think the easiest way is living authentically and true to yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
And when I say easy, it's not always easy. Nothing is easy, right?
Yeah.
But the path that is probably in the long run going to feel the best inside and maybe cause, the least amount of internal stress.
Yeah, I look back and I think I wouldn't change a thing because of how things are now. Things would be different and I wouldn't want them to be different. But I also think, it would have been so much easier if I would have just done it the way they told me to do it.
Well, and I'm the same. Like if I look back, I appreciate today my path, and I wouldn't be who I am today without going through all the things that I went through. But when I talk to young women, like I have two daughters, I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old. And when I talk to them, I'm always like, you do you. Follow your heart, listen to your gut. Like nobody ever said anything like that to me growing up. So the advice that I give them is very different. And the support, I think, and the agency to live their lives, I never had that growing up.
Turn your expertise into a thriving practice with the Health Coach Group. We provide the support and resources you need to succeed. Your passion, our expertise. Together, we can make a difference. Visit thehealthcoachgroup.com today.
So what would you have done different to live more authentically? What would you change?
Well, I think that when I was younger, first of all, if you read my book, you'll see like sometimes I was told I talk too much. There's a story in the book. I'll just tell it. I'll just give a little snippet of it really fast. But I was auditioning for a choir when I was in like 7th grade. It was like their show choir at school, the highest level choir. And I've never had a good singing voice. And I love to sing. Like I feel like in a different life, I was like a performer, a singer, or whatever, but I have no singing talent in this life. So I really wanted to be in this choir. I auditioned for it. And the teacher pulled me aside and said that he thought something was wrong with my voice and that my mom should take me to the doctor. Now, I'm a seventh grader, so you know how this could affect someone's psyche, right? So I came home from school, I told my mom, or maybe he called my mom, I don't remember, but we went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, there's nothing wrong with her. I've always had like my dad used to call me the rasp when I was a kid. Like I've always had like a scratchy, raspy sounding voice, more so than I do today. And so the doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with her. That's just, and he like ignored me, by the way. I'm like sitting in the room and he's only talking to my mom. Like I don't even exist, basically. And he was saying that there's nothing wrong with me, but I'm not going to ever be a professional singer, kind of thing. And that was just such a humiliating experience for me as a kid. And I didn't realize how much that affected me. And that's just one instance of like where I was basically being told that my voice isn't worth listening to, right? So
You won't believe this, but I had the same thing almost happen to me. I was in the 7th grade and I was playing the guitar and singing at church. And the priest asked my friend to make sure that I stood away from the microphone.
it's terrible, right?
And I told my mom, and she says, oh, he would never do anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, the kids need some help with stuff like that. You know, teachers and people that are in kids' life aren't always the smartest. We're lucky that they have a lot of them, but I mean, we know from our experiences that they're not the best. And what do you do to build up kids'
Right.
self-esteem?
Well, what my mom should have done, and, you know, she didn't know, right, at the time, whatever, but maybe what she should have said is, you know what, Marnie, like, I think your voice is still beautiful. It's different from other people's, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own beauty. Or maybe your strength is in gymnastics, or, you know, something to make it a positive, because I just remember feeling like so crushed and so invisible and like, you know, like I didn't matter.
Yeah. Then on the other hand, my son had the same voice as me, and I'd hear him sing in church, and I'd think, oh, should I tell him? You know, he'd sing loud and he's happy with it. He still sings, you know.
That's good. Like
So
that's what
nobody
you
ever
want,
told him,
right?
and he's still happy.
I mean, the thing is, like, it's all about, I mean, your confidence. And it's not like I needed them to lie to me. It's the way that it was handled.
Yeah,
and
well,
it was
nobody's
like
gonna
I
be
was
hurt.
being told something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
But that's just one little instance of, being shut down at a young age.
Yeah. My granddaughter can sing, so she's gone to voice lessons. She sings opera. Her voice goes places where nobody else's voice will go, and mine won't even, I mean, it won't come up above a certain note.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So what are some other things that you would do that would be different to change the direction that you went to live more authentically?
So I don't know that I would necessarily do things differently myself. Like I feel like I said earlier, all of my experiences kind of led me to where I am today. Like I don't know that I knew that I wasn't living authentically until I started like going down the journey of writing my book. And it wasn't that I wasn't living authentically, but I was, I think, afraid of what other people thought of me. And I was so concerned about what everybody around me thought, including my parents, who their opinions of me mattered so much as a child and as a young adult. And I was so connected to them. And I think that like I said earlier, I did what was expected of me.
Do you think that you've gone the other direction now where you don't really care that much what other people think of you?
Yes, I would say that feel very confident, and if not everybody's going to like me, not everybody's going to agree with me, and I'm okay with that. And as long as I'm living the life that I want to live, if you want to judge me for it or like, that's fine. Go for it. I have enough people in my life that I feel surrounded by love and caring and support that it doesn't matter to me anymore. And I think that is something I would impart on younger people, is that the earlier you can learn to just be confident in who you are as a person and not worry about what everyone thinks, the better off you're going to be.
How do you impart that on other people, on younger people? Do you see a difference in your kids?
For sure. I mean, I'm so in touch with all of this. And so they've been raised on a lot of this like knowledge and wisdom. And they've seen me kind of transform over the years, because my son was probably my oldest. He's 23 now. He was probably in like middle school, junior high age when I started going through like the whole health and wellness journey. But my little one, who's 18 now, she's like literally grown up with all of this. And I mean, my kids are so much more confident than I ever was. And I can see when there's always like the mean kids and the kids that are, trying to get everybody else to follow them and whatever. Like, I can see that my kids have like this inner strength, and they're going to do what they want to do, even if it's not the most popular way.
How would you deal with it if you saw that your kids were having a problem with self-confidence?
Well, I mean, they have had problems with self-confidence. All kids do, right? Like, they're not perfect. So I would talk it through with them. I mean, my middle daughter went through a really hard period of time where she was in a friend group of kids that were not accepting her for who she is. And they literally just wanted her to follow them and do whatever they said, which was killing me. And I, can only do so much as a parent. The kids have to learn and they have to grow, but I would have lots and lots of conversations with her. And then during COVID, when everybody was at home, she was at home for almost 2 years during high school, she really blossomed because she was away from those kids, which was super interesting, right? Like,
that
she
is
kind
interesting.
of regained this inner confidence because she wasn't being surrounded by these kids all of the time. And by the time she went back to school, I think it was like maybe her junior year of high school, she had become so sure of herself and confident that she kind of made a lot of new friends, and like just her whole trajectory changed.
Oh, that's cool. You think of COVID causing all these problems with kids not being able to keep up or having social anxiety, and you don't think about the chance that splitting them up from influences may be a good thing.
Yeah. So for her, it was.
Yeah. Good. Well, okay. So you have the book.
Yep. My Song Unleashed.
Yes. And we have the link to your website, Zenful Life Coaching.
Yep. ZenfulLifeCoaching.com. And it's also, I recorded it, so it's on Audible. It's in the libraries. It is at bookshop.org if you like supporting independent bookstores, Amazon. It's all over the place.
Great.
Kindle.
Yeah, we'll put the links underneath your podcast notes. I really appreciate you being here and talking to me today. It was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you liked what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating or review on iTunes.